A fascist, bash the fash. A fascist, bash the fash.
So anyway, I got in this big conversation with this men's rights activist. He says he's liberal, he says he's left-leaning, but then a lot of these little, flourishes come through. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but I'm just saying he's probably got a lot of anger inside of him. And I think he just needs to, accept people more for who they are. And truthfully, that's not even that difficult to do, so just, get on board with it. Just, be cool with trans people, be cool with women. And then maybe somehow, when you say, hey, there's this issue that affects men, people would be like, oh, I'm willing to listen now, because you've shown me some empathy. Men's rights are a real thing. A lot of it is pretty toxic, though. You end up in these little spheres where they're all basically rape apologists, or they just hate women, they're bitter, they're resentful. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to, have a movement, it can't be any of that. It can't be toxic. It can't be poisonous. And any perceived privileges that women have, well, I'm sure you can find a privilege that a man has that kind of, evens it all out. But let's get one thing straight. Women have been oppressed. It was the 1970s? They got a right to have their own credit card, for God's sakes? I mean, let's get real. And even today, they don't have any real control over their reproductive systems anymore. And to the extent that they do, they're wanting to chip away at it. They're wanting to erode those rights, those basic bodily autonomy rights. In a patriarchal society, yeah, it's real. That's the way of the world. That's just how it is. That's how they designed it. That's how they built the motherfucker. But anyway, yeah, I wish this had been a better conversation. It was more I just kind of had to sit and listen to this guy talk. I think what would have followed if I had not just kind of let him go would have been 40 minutes of just talking over each other. Which is not entertaining. I hate that shit. So anyway, yeah, I've made some edits here. Full disclosure, yeah, I trimmed the fat a little bit. I think there was a good 20 minutes of just talking about Stalingrad for some reason. And okay, cool, but that's just not the conversation I was trying to have here. I wanted to know about men's rights and where he was coming from. What are your goals? What do you see as the problems men face? What do you think the solutions are? So I'll let you be the judge. Do we make any breakthroughs here? Do we actually hear anything cogent? We'll see. Here we go.
Yeah, I saw your video on, what was it?
The solar boy.
No, that one, yes, but the
one with Jacqueline Glenn?
Yes, but the one that caught my attention initially was the one on, moderates.
Right, the centrists.
Yes. I listened, I thought you were so spot on.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm a Bernie fan.
Right.
So, and I've been involved in this stuff, and I talk to people about this, and it drives me to distraction because you have to kind of listen to what they don't say and their non-positions. It's they don't tell you what they really believe. And it's you kind of have to figure it out, if that makes any sense.
Now, are you talking about the politicians, or are you talking about, YouTube personalities?
No, I'm talking about just in general. I mean, including YouTube. I'm just talking in general, just people I know personally. You name it, just I just find that a lot of these centrists, you've got centrists. I mean, that's a political ideology, right? For example, Joe Biden. I mean, in the United States, you've got Joe Biden. But then you've got, on YouTube, you have people egalitarians, or you have these types they criticize almost everything and anything under the sun, but they have no ideas themselves. You know what I'm saying? They're just anti-extremists. And I mean,
Tim Pool never has a solution.
Yes.
But he'll point out why the left has it wrong about this and that.
Right.
First off, Tim Pool, I think, is just masquerading as a centrist. My conclusion is that a centrist is just kind of full of shit.
Yes. Bingo.
But the reason why they're full of shit is because you can't necessarily be a centrist, right? Like, you have to take a position on everything.
The best analogy I can... Correct. The best analogy I can come up with is it's like a seesaw. It's like you're either on one side or you're on another. It's like the only way for you to be at the fulcrum is to have a foot in both sides. A seesaw, like you're doing some sort of balancing act. You have to have one foot on one side and another foot on another side. That's how you balance. Like you can't just it's impossible to you can't balance on the top of a triangle. It just doesn't make, there's no way to it's a non-position. So the best analogy I can come up with is I say that centrists appease the left while not indulging facilitating the right or enabling the right. The centrists are that's why it's kind of it's really just kind of a non-position. I'm familiar with Tim Pool. I don't listen to his stuff. I mean, Sargon's like that. Sargon, I'm a centrist. I mean, he's not a centrist.
No.
Yeah, he's not a centrist.
To me, all that stuff is just far right.
Yeah.
I know it's a spectrum, but Tim Pool might as well be a fascist in my book. And maybe I'm off the deep end on that one, but hey, whatever. But let's turn the conversation to what you're all about, because that's what I'm interested in.
Okay.
I want to know, okay, men's rights. Is it a response to feminism or...
No.
Okay.
Because
you just tell me what it's all about.
See, that was a problem, anti-feminist, like Sargon. Like, Sargon is trash. He's just garbage. Somebody's we spend, in our group, the Pro-Male Collective, we spend so much time criticizing anti-feminists because mostly they're right-wing. And they have a horrible frame of reference, and they don't actually care about men, and they don't even actually care about men's rights or human rights. They don't care. They don't care about anything. It's just
do they even care about feminism, or is it just a vehicle to gain some kind of following?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, I will respond with a yes. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's just they use it as a wedge issue to kind of bring people into the right. For example, I'm nominally on the left. I mean, for the most part, if people would tell me that I'm left wing, where exactly, I don't know, but I mean, nominally speaking, I'm left wing. I might have disagreements with.
Supporter sums it up, I think.
What's that?
I think just labeling yourself a Bernie supporter kind of sums up where you are on the left as far as that.
Exactly. I don't even agree with everything he says. I have my criticisms of him. I don't believe in this cult of personality. I don't think he's some guru. I especially hate that about Biden and all these centrists. I just don't believe in that stuff. And in fact, that's part of the reason why I like him so much is because he says, it's not about me, it's about us. It's about engaging to civil society. I'm on the left, and the problem I have with it's these guys, they cherry pick and they take the worst from the left, and they caricaturize the left. Like there's no diversity of opinion. There's no. It's all just just laughing at the most ridiculous aspects of it. The so-called social justice warriors, which in my opinion are just intersectional feminists. The whole term social justice warrior is wrong. Because, I mean, there's nothing wrong per se with caring about social justice. It's a pejorative.
I consider myself someone that cares about social justice to the extent that if you can clearly see some victimization going on of a group based on an attribute, like trans rights are a big thing for me because the same argument they used to make about gays, that they were mentally ill and all this stuff, and then boom, we accept them, no problem. Trans, just accept them, just let them be who they want to be.
That's interesting you bring that up. I actually have done videos on transsexual issues. I'm very critical of transsexuals. The movement. Not the individuals, the movement. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but see, that's like you said a second ago. I think a lot of the anti-trans arguments I hear are like these like cherry-picked kind of like
Correct.
Not the everyday lived example of like the kid that's bagging my groceries with long fingernails. You see what I'm saying? Like
Right. I mean, okay. I mean, the biggest problem I have with the whole transsexual movement is that they're not actually focused on human rights. Anytime I criticize their positions, I'm told like I'm a bigot or
Well, define their position. What do you think their position is?
See, the problem is I have with them is that they want everyone to accept them as women.
They want everyone to accept them as women.
See, I don't care. Like, nobody deserves to be attacked, whatever, physically attacked. Like, everyone deserves some basic dignity, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, let's bash trannies. Like, that's I literally don't care how you dress up. You could dress up like a panda bear. I don't care. Like, the problem I have is, and I've made videos addressing contrapoints on this, is he or she blames men for them not being accepted as women, which it's just like, I've made this point, like, if you can pass as a woman, then just do so. Then you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point in my mind in trying to, like, if you really have that hard of a time passing and you need some sort of like social movement to basically say, no, you're going to accept these people as women, like, it's ridiculous. It would be like me trying to say, no, you're going to accept me as a 16th century French aristocrat. You're going to address me as your majesty, and if you don't, you're a bigot. Like, that's not a human rights issue.
You may have caught that little bit of projection there where it's like, oh, you got to call them their majesty. Like, no, the principle of it is that you just have to accept their humanity. You have to, like, get it out of your head that, like, they're wanting you to bend over backwards for them. No, just, you know what? You want to be a woman? You want me to refer to you as such? Fine. That's the end of it.
It's whether or not it's related to human rights or not. Like, I've found, like, to be honest with you though, like, once I stopped trying to wrap my head around it,
yeah,
I found that accepting them as just, hey, there they are, who they are, and then I can like leave it with that. I can go on with my life, and I can respect their pronoun, and it doesn't like bother me or whatever. It just is what it is.
You're not going to change people. You're not saying these people are great or bad. You're trying to get people to accept them as like biological or bona fide women. You can't do that. It's like most of them don't even want to transition. You know what I'm saying? They don't even want to actually go with the surgery. So I'm like, so you still have a PP.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what are you then?
Yeah.
I have
the answer to that. My only answer to that: human being. Maybe
okay.
Maybe that's a cop out, but it is what it is.
Fair enough. But then why even have to say trans? I don't even like to refer to myself as a man. I mean, I'm just I'm a human being. Even there, like, I deem dogs as beneath me. I love dogs, but like, I'm not gonna be like, when I see a dog, I love dogs, but I'm not gonna give my life for a dog, right? That's not true. If it was my dog, I absolutely would. But I'm still, like, I'm not going to address them as your majesty. Like, I rub their belly. I'm not going to be like, I wouldn't treat a dog or a person the same way. Like, I'm not going to go up to a person and start rubbing their belly for obvious reasons. Like, it's like I still have respect for the dog as a sentient, living creature. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like when it comes to trans, it's like, I do personally view them as having some sort of mental illness, but I'm like, it's not like gas the transsexuals. I don't have that. Maybe I've taken us to an impasse at this moment with that topic. But I'll give you. I'm
interested in the men's rights primarily.
This is relevant, so I'll bring this up. So when I was in Washington D.C., I was at GIAW, and that's Genital Integrity Awareness Week. We meet up, the intactivists meet up every year, and it's the same, roughly the same date every year, and they protest circumcision, male genital mutilation. Okay.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm on board with that. I don't think that should be a thing.
Okay. So I was there, and I, was just walking around, doing some exploring, and there was a press conference there for the Equality Act. I think primarily this was focused in California. I think there's been some progress made there or whatever in terms of trying to. It was regards to genital protection. So they want to protect the genitals of intersex children. And my whole gripe, I hijacked it, so to speak, and my whole gripe is, why even have separations? Why not just say protect the genitals of all children? And I'm surprised that this is my thing. Why do transsexuals not care about this? Because if they're serious about transitioning, like having a bunch of skin cut off their dick is going to make it difficult. They should care about this anyway. This is why I'm so skeptical of them. Because what they are, essentially, is just guys in skirts that want female privilege. That's all it is. These guys do not care about, they don't even care about the ways in which they have been violated. They don't even care about that. They just want to get the hell out of Dodge. That's it.
Well, I would say, yeah, they don't want to be a man.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, there's far more.
But I would say that's more because they just want to be a woman. I don't know if it's because of any perceived privilege. I think they would just mentally identify as a woman.
Why? I mean, you have to ask yourself in that case, why is it there's so many male to female versus female to male?
Oh, I mean, I know a few myself in real life. A few girls that are now wanting to be recognized and addressed as men. I mean,
come on, you've seen
popular culture or whatever. Yeah,
you've seen the statistics. You've seen the statistics. Most of the time, it's male to female. It's not female to male. I mean, the female to male. They've transitioned and they've expressed. They've had horrible experiences. And this is why I'm so critical of the transgender movement, in particular, ContraPoints. It's not coming from a place of bigotry, in the sense of, wanting to put people down. I don't want to put anyone down.
Do you look at it as a societal harm? Do you look at it as a big picture, this is just not good for society kind of thing?
I mean, what I think it is really is it's body dysphoria, and I think these people have some sort of issues. They have some sort of issues, and they're trying to I think they're confused. I mean, they're confused people. I don't care how they dress.
You can look at it as just they know what makes them comfortable.
That's fine.
And if everything is who they want to be is what makes them feel okay, then sure.
That's absolutely fine. It's just a problem is the leaders of these movements are overtly anti-male. It's the same with the LGBT. It used to be the GLBT, but now it's the LGBT, and it was just taken over by feminists and lesbians. I mean, even though there's more gay men than lesbians. But right. They've taken it over, and they're pushing their own political narrative and agenda.
What is their agenda then?
I mean, essentially what it is women look out for themselves.
Whatever particular group you're a part of, you're going to care about issues related to that.
The biggest problem I have with men is the passivity. Every fucking group in the world organizes and does things for people in their group, whatever. Kurds don't even have a fucking state. But there's the Kurdish this and, the Kurdish identity. It's men seem to be the only group that just will not organize for themselves as men.
Well, I would say, though, that, you say men don't organize around to do things as men, but, that's how this whole country was built, by men and the structures they set up.
Well, I mean, men are happy to do things for a paycheck. The vast majority of men are not that entrepreneurial. Men like to strongman posture. They like to talk about their utility, how useful they are. Most men are I don't even want to use the word average. I would use the word mediocre because it's a tiny handful of men that skew the curve, upward. Your average guy's not climbing Mount Everest or starting his own business or jumping out of airplanes. Most men want to just...
Does he need to be?
No.
Should he be?
No. That's my point. He doesn't have to be like... The problem is men, they differentiate themselves, like, from other guys. Like, I'm not like those guys, or, they superficially like to differentiate themselves. They like team sports. They like all this bullshit. They like to wear a jersey. But...
Like, I like to say, fuck all these meatheads, right? Like, I differentiate myself in that way. I don't need to be this, like, guy, you know what I mean? Like, that's my whole thing.
Bingo.
Is a man to just be able to be whatever man he wants to be.
Correct. I don't like meatheads either, but I'm not going to label myself, I'm an anti-meathead. Like, I'm gonna look at what they do. I'm not gonna start a movement, no, but I'm not gonna take it that far. But yeah, just like in passing, I just have this kind of disregard for them. Okay, that's understandable. But the problem is, men have a passing disregard for all other men. All men think there's this. And this kind of gets me back to this centrism thing. Like, I've just noticed that, like, men in general just, they're passive. They're extremely passive. They like dominance hierarchies. They like to join groups where there's a dominance hierarchy, but they're just antisocial with each other. I did a video on that, on toxic masculinity, and I said it does exist, but women benefit from it. Men suffer from toxic masculinity. It's the women that benefit from it.
Now, we may have different definitions of toxic masculinity. Now, let me explain what I think it is. Personally, just from my perspective, not from what feminism may call it or whatever, but in my book, a toxic masculinity situation is anything that makes a man feel like he's less than a man based on some arbitrary kind of like perceived like sexual prowess or like physical ability or like looking like a guy that could beat somebody up or just whatever. Like, I consider that toxic masculinity in the fact that it makes men feel like, oh, I've got to be this thing, and if I can't be that thing, then I'm nobody. That's where I'm coming from on toxic masculinity.
That's right. No,
I hate that soy boy shit. I can't stand that nonsense.
Well, I don't like it either. But the truth is that men are nobody. We're all nobody equally, and men just don't want to get that. Like, they just don't want to. It's like, oh, collectivism is bad. Like, I don't need the big government. I can do it all on my own. They can't. Men are collectivists for everything but themselves. They're pro corporation, or they're pro this, or government pro America, pro Soviet Union, but they can't be pro male. And they'll say, "Oh, I'm pro."
Like that.
Yeah.
Do we even need to, or can't we just say like a humanist kind of vision where it's
because the humanist it's just a fence sitter position. All it is. It's complete. Yeah, absolutely. It's just fence sitting. Men will say, "Oh, I'm pro me." They'll say stuff like, "Oh, I'm not pro male. I'm pro me." That's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, who isn't pro themselves? Like, is anyone like headbutting the sidewalk? Yeah, I think I'm not pro me. Let me just like run head first into this wall. I mean, it's stupid. It's fine.
Wouldn't humanism be that you're just pro everybody?
Yeah, but it never addresses men's issues. It's like egalitarianism. It's slightly more principled than centrism, but not much.
Egalitarianism.
Yeah.
That's just where everyone has equal rights, right?
Right.
But here's the thing, aren't women always going to need, like, their own kind of separate rights?
Why?
Reproductive system.
Okay, so they can have them. Why can't men have their separate rights?
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, we physically won't ever have those rights. There's certain issues that, like...
So child support? So men have to pay child support because reasons?
Oh, now, child support... Whatever. I'm talking more of just like the physicalities of like having a baby.
I'm pro. If women want to have abortions, it's none of my business. I just want the same autonomy for men.
A man should have a choice in that. Like, if that's my baby in there.
No.
All right, cool. We're on the same page as far as that.
That's my opinion. There's people in my group that disagree. I mean, or they might disagree. my personal stance is just, I think that the simplest point to start is just you and your own body. It's like, women control the family unit, so it's their child. So I just don't want, I think men, should not have to be, forced to pay for a child that they cannot see or that they did not want.
I guess the only argument about that is you did have sex with a person.
Yeah, and that's the same argument that's used for abortion. Sex is not consent to having a child.
Yeah, no, I will say that. And the argument is even the same when you think about the classic argument is if I needed a kidney, I couldn't hook myself up to you because I'm using your body or whatever. So if I don't consent to that, then it's a no-no.
Right.
So if I don't want anything to do with a kid, I should just be able to just fly away.
Yes.
Now, in a world ran by Bernie Sanders, such a thing might be able to take place.
Of course.
But I think it's like an unfortunate side effect.
Of course.
Of the system. I don't know if it's necessarily against men.
That's why I'm anti-right wing. No, it's not a conspiracy. I mean, in our group, we've reached a consensus. The right has nothing to offer men, and nothing.
No.
It has absolutely, I am anti-right wing. I'm anti-racist. I'm very anti-right wing. I support government-funded childcare. I think that's the best solution. I'll pay for 100%. I'll pay for my taxes. I believe in paternity care. I support all of that shit. Most of these right wingers are just what they are. They're nuclear family fetishists.
And then that's what I wanted to ask you. That's what I was wanting to know. Is that where you're coming from?
Hell no. No,
where it's
of course not.
This idealized kind of 1950s.
No. That was all a lie. That was all a lie. It was not good. It was horrible. It was always bad. It was a lie, and that's not even genuine traditionalism. Genuine traditionalism is extended families living in some, shitbox, rural agrarian collective, where working in the fields, men and women. Whatever, is working on some rice paddy for their, local warlord, and, these dipshits don't even know what genuine traditionalism look like.
I mean, me personally, I don't even plan on having kids. I plan on just living my life.
Neither do I, neither do I. I don't want to get
Here's what I'll say though. I do have this one issue to address though, because I guess you could say there's a hang up I'm having adopting any kind of whatever you want to call it, ideology, whatever.
Yeah.
Frame of mind, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
There always seems to be this tinge of resentment and anger.
Yeah.
Directed at women, and I'm like,
from whom?
When I'm on these message boards and stuff, and I'm just.
Are you talking about most men's rights advocates or something like that?
Yeah, I mean that's the impression I get.
Yeah, but they're tradcons. I mean, we have nothing to do with them. I mean, we've not only have we argued against them. I mean, I think we in Reddit recently we've been booted. There was some subreddit. I can't even remember the name of it, but we were booted out because we criticized them because they have no boundaries. Most of these guys, they are just obsessed with women and relationships. I don't give a shit.
So you're nowhere near any kind of an incel, nowhere near any kind of.
That's a meaningless term. I mean, I don't even know what the word incel means.
I can tell you the truth.
It's just a smear.
I mean, you go through a dry spell for a couple of years, and you start to feel that depression and shit, and you start thinking, yeah, I know where these guys are coming from.
I'm only going to speak from my.
Where they lose me is the whole kind of this acceptance of rape as a viable answer to their problem.
I don't care about relationships. I don't give a shit. I don't want a mommy. I don't want a fucking mommy, okay? I think the nuclear family is shit. I'm embarrassed of myself because I had delusions about my own family. The family's overrated. They don't even half the time, they don't even fucking help you out.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
It's and I've talked to so many people about this, and even women say the same thing, but especially with men, it's just obligations and stupid vacations and photos for this dumbass shit. Gay shit, I like to call it, even though it's I have nothing against gays, I like to call it gay shit because it's like calling neo-Nazis gay. I like to call the nuclear family shit gay because it's man, it's like, what self-respecting man wants to be fucking the same woman for 30, 40 years? Like, I could never wrap my head around that. I just want security. That's it. I want security and dignity. The problem with most men's rights MRAs is they suck. They're just tradcons. They're fucking tradcons.
What I want you to explain on the way out.
Yeah.
Is this what are their solutions, and how do yours differ?
We don't have any solutions.
Okay,
I have nothing.
So what are yours?
We don't have a blueprint.
Yeah, let me interject one more time to just say right here, look, you don't want to be seen as this group that just, like, hates women. You don't want to be seen as this group whose primary objective is to just bitch and moan about women all the time. If you want to escape that, like, stigma, you're going to have to come up with some, like, legit ideas on, like, how to get to where you're going. And, like, I don't even know if where you're trying to go, like, really even matters. Like, I don't really think it does. I think men are doing just fine. There's a reason they call it a man's world. I mean, think about it.
I don't have a blueprint. I don't know. Maybe there's some guy out there who does. I think it's kind of ridiculous. Right now, like, it's not like I'm the Marxist-Leninist of men's rights. Like, in a utopia, I don't have a blueprint. Like, in a utopia, we will live in, X types of communities. Like, I just want to, right now it's an issue by issue based thing.
Here's the thing. Whatever solution you got, as long as it doesn't erode any existing rights that women
we don't,
then whatever.
No, we're only interested in eroding their privileges. We want wherever there is an imbalance, wherever women have any sort of privileges, so, for example, perfect example, the draft, right? There's no reason why women can't serve. I'm against the draft. We're all pretty much against the draft. There's a consensus, but there's no reason. I'm against the draft. Period, for men and women. I'm against the draft on principle, but like, there's no reason why women can't serve in the military in the same capacity as men. I do not believe that male life is inherently less important than female life.
Right.
And this is the biggest problem I have with tradcons, because to be honest with you, if you're in a submarine and you descend to 1,000 feet and you pass crushed depths, your massive pecs and your broad shoulders are not going to save your ass from sinking to the bottom of the ocean. I don't care. You could be, John Bones Jones, Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever. You're all dead. Man, or like everything. You could be a chihuahua or tiger. You're just in a steel coffin, crumpled steel coffin, sinking to the bottom of the ocean. So no, I think women can. In fact, I think that a lot of times this is all just a lazy biologism to excuse male disposability. There's no, shooting a rifle does not take arm strength or upper body strength. A bullet is a bullet. A bullet in your head is going to it's going to make a big exit wound, whether you're a man or a woman. It doesn't make any fucking difference. I do not believe that there's any reason why men should be conscripted to save a civilization that does not give a rat's ass about them. So, in that regard, yeah,
Could an argument used to have been made, that women were the ones that could actually, like, repopulate the place after all? Yes.
This argument's been made, and we've been discussing this, and we've addressed this, and we're working on this now. I mean, this is again another apply to today, of course. I don't think that would apply. It wouldn't. It doesn't matter. Even back then, it's a lazy biologism. One man and 100 women would not repopulate the earth. They'd all be fucking inbred. They'd all have they'd have heads, arms on their forehead. Like, what are you going to do? 2,000 years from now, the earth has a million inhabitants, and we all share the same father, essentially. Like every man, they would trace all their ancestry back to, they would be horribly inbred.
Would you say you're a little bit of a nihilist at
heart? Oh, God, why? Why use that word?
I use the word because I consider myself a bit of a nihilist. Because, well, hearing you go on, and I believe I'm on the same page as far as, like, look, we're just a bunch of apes. There's nothing necessarily unique.
I'm honest. I'm just gonna say
the body itself. I mean,
no,
we don't need adoration just because we're humans or whatever. The human experience is what it's all about.
And the human experience has been largely horrible, and it's mostly due to our own delusions about ourselves and our own passivity. And I find that the most passive people are the most delusional, and vice versa. The most delusional people just want to belong to a group. They just want to believe in some leader, and it just affects men the most. Because they'll just march off to their death for any stupid fucking goddamn flag or ideology, and it's just status at the end of the day. All these ideologies are just rationalization for status, but it's
hierarchy too.
Pretty much, you know, like I don't believe in the golden uterus. It's just a bunch of dribble. It's dribble. Women aren't even making babies anymore. And if you look in industrialized countries, the birth rates are declining.
Oh yeah, and I've noticed one thing. I bring this up not to catch you to it by any means, but I've noticed they're like really worried about the amount of white babies being born out there, and I think that's where all this like anti-abortion push is coming from. To be honest,
it is. It is.
They're worried about maintaining that white majority.
I mean, I find those arguments so just obnoxious because it's like, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's like, have you ever seen like. You know what, Latino, I mean, Latino isn't even a race. They're a mix of Caucasian, I mean, have you ever seen like a half so-called Latino and a half white person? They look almost white. Like, you can't tell the fucking difference. Like, I don't see what the big deal is. It's like, okay, so Mexicans are coming here. I mean, I don't give a shit who they fuck. I don't care. I don't fucking care. I mean, Keanu Reeves.
The next guy I'm talking to is all about he hates race mixing, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research to make sure I really nail that motherfucker.
The whole concept of race is nebulous. It's like there's no European race per se. Like there's Lebanese people with blonde hair and blue eyes. There's Turkish people with blonde hair and blue eyes. You go in Western China, there's Uyghurs that with blonde hair and blue eyes. It's like it's just like broad kind of characteristics. There's more genetic diversity in Africa than anywhere on Earth. I mean, these guys are just meat guarders. What it is, they're happy to like, they'd be happy to make babies with black women. They just want to keep the black men away. It's just about keeping. It's about limiting competition. Like there's this disgusting MGTOW called Turd Flinging Monkey who advocates for war to keep the male population down, to get rid of surplus males because male scarcity is great for men. And there's no truth to this. There's none. Like that's why when your video about soy boys, it's like these men.
With that? Ultimately, what's the problem?
Soy boy it's an anti-male term. That's all. It's basically saying it's the same type of people that want to get rid of so-called surplus men. It's bullshit. It's fucking.
You don't think it's aimed at homosexuals specifically?
I think it's aimed at
a dog whistle. No, just a pure dog whistle.
It's not aimed at homosexuals at all. It's aimed at all men. I'm not saying. Don't get me wrong.
The example he used in that video was like a very kind of frail, flamboyant, lispy voiced kind of man.
But they are homophobic. I'm not saying they aren't homophobic.
Yes.
No, they are.
So no. Use these dog whistles.
I know what you're saying. You're trying to say that because they can't be open about their homosexuality, they they have to dog whistle. There might be some truth to that in certain cases. In some cases, there's probably some truth, but you have to realize, like, men do hate each other. So the truth, they're looking to just discard any guy for any reason. All I have is my fucking body in my brain. I mean, I don't know what it feels like to be a bear. I mean, I don't even I identify as a human being. I mean, I am what I am.
To be regarded as a man, though, right? So, like, that's a real thing. Like,
I mean, to be regarded as a man. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's just obligation. It's obligation and never-ending criticism. I mean, that's pretty much been my experience.
Women have the same problem, though, too, though.
I mean, yeah, sure, but I mean, women aren't, dying by, the millions in pointless and endless wars. They don't have a suicide rate, at the same level as men. I mean, the suicide rate for men is pretty much higher than women almost everywhere in the world. I think the only exception is China.
I would say I believe in a patriarchy, but I think what you're talking about is a symptom of that. Like, I don't think the patriarchy necessarily benefits men all the time.
No, it never benefits. Even high men their position is tentative. Any dictator can be deposed. I don't buy this patriarchy theory nonsense, because at the end of the day, there's no men that are real winners. I mean, there's a few that get to the top, and I mean, to say that, there's a few men at the top, but I mean, to say that, like, to say, well, look, we have look, our king is male, so therefore all the male peasants are somehow kings. Like, most men throughout most of history.
What I'm saying is that it doesn't necessarily benefit us.
It doesn't. Patriarchy is a made-up concept.
Let me get this out. I think we're heading towards a better world, right? I think eventually we won't even need to have conversations like this. I hope so.
You ended this conversation with patriarchy. I mean, it's kind of interesting that, I mean, it's kind of like,
I think it's a real structure. I think it's a real thing. Like, I think you have to kind of be like, you have to kind of like be in a delusion in a way to assume that, like, even though things don't have to be the way that they are that way.
Yeah,
like,
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But you can't point to this patriarchy. Like, it doesn't have a office building. It's not like the FBI or the Stasi. There's no central organization. It's a nebulous, made-up term. It's like Mother Nature. It just doesn't mean anything. You're pointing.
It's a descriptive term of an existing way of doing things. It's like a social norm. It's just like a mores or whatever you want to call it. Like,
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. You could say the same for institutionalized racism. You could say, well, that doesn't technically exist because there's not a law on a book, but that doesn't mean there's not things that happen that, like, put the pieces into place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
we have a hidden hand of government. You know what I mean? There's a hidden hand.
Yeah, but that's a poor analogy, because racism. You can actually look to history and you can say, no, black people were historically oppressed. You can look, and there were slaves, and then there were non-slaves, and then there were slave owners. Like, you can't. There's no. You
can't do that with women, though.
No,
you can't say, like, they were denied.
No, you can't. After all the things I would mention, see, the problem is, it doesn't matter what I mention, you will just instinctly just brush it off as it being completely irrelevant. If I mention all these things, you'll just say, the conscription, general mutilation. That's one thing to say that they shouldn't have it, but, like, you're basing this. You're saying you can't even define privilege. Like, you're telling me that
it's a symptom of society.
You're telling me, you're literally just basically saying male suffering either doesn't exist or it's immaterial. Like, you cannot tell me that you cannot tell me that the situation that men have dealt with throughout all of history made them. If that's privilege, then I mean, then like having your arms and legs cut off is a privilege. I mean, you're basically, I don't want any of it. I mean, you're telling me the best thing I can say is decision-making power, and your average guy doesn't decide shit. Your average man has no decision-making power whatsoever. They like to think so, but they're jack shit. They don't run anything. You know, it's like we run this shit. I mean, it's like men don't run anything.
I mean, they seem to hold positions of power, right? I mean, they seem to be populating.
Some do.
They seem to have the money, right? I mean,
and you think your average man is like that? So you're pointing. This is the apex fallacy. You're pointing to a handful of men at the top and saying, "See, all men are like this." I wish I was like that. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing.
You might be misunderstanding my position. I've already conceded that, like, the typical man doesn't benefit from the patriarchy, but I'm to assume you believe it's just not real at all.
What is it then? Like, it's this vague, nebulous thing.
Family. It's everything.
The nuclear family didn't even exist until 1900.
They built it. They constructed it.
They didn't construct it. It was just a degeneration of the extended family, which was nothing more than basically human beings living together for survival. Like you make it sound like it's like this argument, like roles
clearly defined.
And roles for men. Same with men. And men got the short end. Men got the short end of the stick. It's like what about arranged marriages? What about arranged marriages? Like, women were forced to marry men, and you don't think men, somehow you don't think men were forced to marry women? Like you think somehow, like, the only victim of an arranged marriage is, like, the woman, because, like, every man wants to get married to any woman, even though, it's like, this is the problem I have with a feminist. It's like, there's a quote I saw today, it was at Uganda. I don't know what this lady was, some government minister. It's like how, she said, that the genocide in Rwanda, so not in Uganda, Rwanda disproportionately hurts women because, like, the country is now 70% women, 30% men. So all these men were killed off, and, like, it's hurting women. Okay, so you're saying, it sucks, the great, it's like all these women, they'll never see their husbands again. Yeah, it's the husbands that are fucking dead. Okay. So
on the flip side, we don't get a period every month either, though. I'm pretty good as far as that goes, right?
And do women get unwanted erections when they're 15? No. I mean, do men got prostate cancer? Are you seriously going to pull that? The period shit?
I've already pulled it. Yeah, I'm pulling it. I find there to be some.
So basically, you're saying that. I've actually heard this argument before.
The female socialist.
You're saying.
More difficult because of the way they structured society. You see what I'm saying?
You sound like a tradcon. You sound like a tradcon now, because you're essentially saying women have it harder.
If you want to write me off,
it's not a write-off.
It's not a write-off. Find me as this guy, then hey, that is what it is. I can't change your mind.
I mean,
I'm sympathetic to a lot of what you say, but the denial of the reality, I can't really get on board with.
You mentioned, I want to address this because you mentioned this. You open up that can of worms about periods. You realize that men and women.
We gotta wrap it up.
Biologically from different things.
Words, and you have the floor.
Okay. What you used was a lazy biologism. That's another example that's not even true, because there's plenty of conditions men get that women do not suffer from, like baldness is much more prevalent amongst men. Cancer is much more prevalent amongst men. So, I mean, this is like, I'll sum this up as this boils down pretty much to empathy and passivity. And it's like, I will say this, is like, you can, it's not so much about me trying to change the way you view the world or yourself. My problem is when people say, shut men down for trying to organize. That's my problem. It's like, if you want to feel that you're privileged, I can't control your feelings. If you want to feel like you're privileged, that's fine. But just to say, well, men can't organize around these issues because of feelings, your feelings, I mean, it makes no sense at all. Anyway.
Well, it's all about, to me, it's not about men organizing. but it's like, why? And if that is a genuine, if that's a real, if that's like no ulterior motives or any weird.
Who are you to even say what is an ulterior motive? I see what your point. Like, I don't like tradcons myself, but I mean, if they want to actually organize, I mean, good luck. They're going to fail anyway, and I don't support them. But I mean, who are you to say who can and cannot? I mean, I wouldn't support them in the slightest bit. I mean, they're because they're anti-male. But I mean, you yourself are trying to straddle a fence here. You're doing it. You're not aware of it, and I think you have
men and women, right?
You have
both sides of
a bias. You have a bias that every man has. You have a bias that every man has, and you just care more for female suffering than male suffering, like most men. I'm not even really sure why you can't even see that. Like if you brought up periods, if you genuinely think
what you're thinking is because I care about women, therefore I care less about men.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Issue by issue for me. I mean, that's just
and periods are an issue. Like how what exactly?
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have a period. That kind of sucks. I think about it and I go, damn, that would suck to have a period every month.
Are you circumcised?
Yeah,
are you circumcised? Okay.
Yeah, that was forced upon me. I didn't consent to that.
And you think that somehow their periods are, more of an issue than the fact that part of your genitals was ripped off. I mean, look, if you're going to complain
day-to-day life, then yeah, it's a lot different.
If you're going to complain about periods, then
my dick doesn't really hurt. It doesn't cause me any grief or whatever. I just wish it didn't happen. I mean, but it did. I mean, I can live with that day-to-day.
You can, but there are men that can't because they've suffered complications, and that's the thing. Like,
victims. That's why it didn't happen at all. I'm with you.
If you're gonna bring up periods, you may as well just say let's just shoot ourselves, because then we're all just a victim of the fact that we have to eat and shit. I'm a victim because I have to every fucking morning I have to put some fucking slop in my mouth and then shit it out the next morning.
Are you a nihilist? Hey,
I'm breaking it down to it.
Gotta run.
Okay.
Hey, appreciate
I'm on
the call. I'll get back with you.